Hello and welcome to another fun-filled Artists Together raid train. I am Eroivis, also known professionally as Brian J. French. Hello, silent speaker. No, you do not have to miss the constant agitation. The constant agitation that I am referring to, for those of you who are new to this, is it's developing film. I will be developing some black and white film today, right here, live. So the star of today's show is going to be this roll of medium format film. Well, I've got 5 rolls of film to develop. I have one that's currently prepped for developing. So, but yes, and the reason why I call it constant agitation is because of how the developing is done. So I will describe that in detail here as we are. This is the pre-train event. This is the boarding call. Once 1 o'clock hits, we will begin the film developing in earnest. But since you are here, you get to see me doing a little bit of the setup and making sure that all of my film chemicals are all right. How are you doing, silent speaker? I haven't seen you in a while. I mean, life's been busy and all that, so. As I start to set up my chemicals, I have to set up my developer, my stop bath, and my fixer. So let me reach down here. Good, you're on your lunch break right now, but we're celebrating World Tree Kangaroo Day at the zoo, so I've been busy with all sorts of fun animal encounters. Lovely! That sounds like a blast! So, I will describe this more when the raid train actually begins, but to develop black and white film, you need at minimum 3 chemicals. I use 5, but I'll explain what they each do. But the mandatory chemicals for developing film are developer, stop bath, and fixer. So what do those 3 do? Developer, well, does exactly what it says it does. Just held our 6-foot oh, man. You know, getting off on a tangent here. I grew up with all sorts of reptiles because my stepbrother had it in his head that he wanted to be the next Steve Irwin. So we shared a bedroom as kids. So he had all manner of snakes. He had a couple of ball pythons. He had a children's python. He had a rat snake. He had he had a leopard gecko. He had an iguana at one point. It was the most perfect way to keep my mother out of our bedroom. Because my mother hates reptiles. You see in old Warner Brothers cartoons of, the distressed housewife, getting up on a chair and flailing at the top of her lungs. That's my mother when it comes to reptiles. So, absolute guaranteed way to make sure my mother never, ever, ever stepped foot in our bedroom were all the snakes and reptiles. It was wonderful. Favorite snakes I ever met is a king snake named Pretzel. She also coincidentally is the snake who's ever bit me. Oh! But yes, developer is exactly what it does. Developer develops the film. Stop bath stops the developing. And fixer is what makes the film safe for taking out in the light. What the fixer does, it removes all undeveloped silver from the film, and therefore, in doing so, makes it light safe. But yes, I am just now starting to prep chemicals for today's developing. Oh, you're still good. The developer that I'm using is about 2 months old. And there's always a concern when you have developer hanging around for that long that it'll go bad. And it can, because all chemicals have a shelf life. But by putting your chemicals in one of these brown glass jugs, it keeps light of getting in. And if you keep it in like a dark cabinet, even better. You seal it up, keeps the air out of it, light doesn't hit it, and your chemicals can last for months. So we're at 10 ounces of developer, and you combine that with an equal part water. Got 20 ounces of working solution. And I always mix it up with filtered or distilled water. This is one of my digital thermometers because film developing is temperature sensitive. Developer is a clear liquid. Actually, of the 5 chemicals I use, they're all clear. They're all clear with the exception of the stop bath, which is yellow. So that's why I have to label all of my graduates here so that I know which chemical I just poured it into. And I just poured my developer into the one marked Dev. Next one is Stop. Stop bath. Yeah. When the developing actually starts, I'll lower my webcam so you actually see what the hell's going on, as opposed to just seeing this mug. But, so if developer is clear, that is what stop bath looks like. And if your urine looks like that, please drink some water immediately. Speaking of which, as a courtesy to all of you lovely people, there's going to be some running water in the background while the developing is happening. So if you do have to use the bathroom, I suggest you do it sometime within the next 20 minutes. And you're fixer. Are you at 20? Just about. The other 2 chemicals that I use during this process, one is called Wash-Aid, and what that does is that it further helps to reduce all undeveloped silver. And really cuts down on the final rinse time. And then the last chemical I use is called Ilfotol, which is a wash aid. It's not a wash aid, it's a drying agent. Basically how I typically explain what Ilfotol is like, if you have a dishwasher and you probably use Jet Dry. And what Jet Dry does is that it makes it so that your dishes don't get water spots on them when they're dry. That's what this does, Ilfotol does, but for film. Which is really nice because if you live in an area that has hard water and you get water spots on your film, they're a bitch to edit out after you scan them in and you then start playing around with them in Photoshop. So I'm just checking the temperature, the ambient temperature of my chemicals. I'm looking between 68 and 69 degrees. So ideal temperature for film developing is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 20 degrees Celsius for the rest of the world. Thank you so much, Silent Speaker. So this shirt is brought to you by another lovely, lovely person and artist on Twitch who goes by the name of Tiny Dragon on Fire. She did this one day as a sketch, and I said, I want that as a high-res image so I can make stuff, so I can make merch with it. And we made an arrangement of payment. She gave me the high-res sketch, and it's on my Redbubble store. And since I have time, I'll actually pull that up. It is on my Redbubble store. If you want constant agitation merch. Oops. There we are. So that's the sticker. That's the specific for the sticker, but you can get this on a t-shirt and a bunch of other stuff. So, and there's currently on a sale on Redbubble. So if you want to, it's not just this, but also a bunch of my images are there as well. So you can get them as greeting cards, journals, prints, and other fun stuff. So if you'd like to throw money at me, I'm not going to complain. I'm shameless. All right, my chemicals are looking like they're around the 68.7. That's around the midpoint, which is good, which means I don't have to break out my film chemistry warming device. As we're getting to that point in the year. If I was when I would do this in the winter, I would have my handy dandy device nearby because the temperature of the house, I like to keep it pretty low, like 64, 65. And you can develop film at that temperature. You just have to add developing time. So, a note about the film and chemicals that I use. When I shoot black and white film, I exclusively shoot with Ilford film. The film that I'm going to be developing today is it's Ilford Delta 400 speed film. And all of the chemicals that I use is Ilford chemical. It's all Ilford stuff. The developer is called Ilford ID11. The stop bath is Ilfo Stop. The fixer is Ilford Rapid Fixer. The wash aid is Ilford Wash Aid, and the drying agent is Ilford Ilfotol. It's one of the few things that I have brand loyalty for. Like when I was in college, I shot with a lot of different brands of film. So Ilford, Kodak, Arista, Fuji, other various off-brands. And our darkroom, our college darkroom, had just a mishmash of chemicals. Like the developer was Kodak D76, which is also, it's a very good developer. So it's, when you don't have to use all the same brand. You can mix it up. I just do that for consistency's sake. and I will show you how each one gets used in this process. So it's a time-sensitive thing. And the first thing that happens is, so, the most common question is, well, how do you develop film without a darkroom? And the answer to that is this thing. It's a film changing bag. It is a double-lined bag. On one end, you put in, let's open up this end, you put in all the components of the developing tank, and you put in your film, zip it up, fasten it up, and then at the other end are these two points to these two sleeves for your arms. So you slide your arms through, and from there, that's, you take the film out of the film canister, you load it onto the developing reel, and you close it up, and it's ready to go. So the entire process is done by touch. So this takes practice. I cannot tell you, when I was just a wee little Brian, my first photo class was photo 1 in high school, my senior year of high school, and having to learn how to take 35 millimeter film and put it in a developing tank, which incidentally looks like this. That took some practice. I definitely ruined a couple of rolls of film doing that, because you have to do it all by touch. The other option is, of course, if you are fortunate enough to have a darkroom, and I mean like an actual photographic darkroom. You don't need this, obviously. You can just do everything. You put everything out on a table, and you do it by there. It still has to be done by touch because you have no light. We are about 10 minutes away from the start of the raid train proper. I mean, I am basically ready to go. I expected that I was going to have to take some time to warm up the chemicals, but I don't, which is great. They're already at 68 degrees, so developing times for this film specifically, Ilford Delta 400, it's 14 minutes. So 14 minutes with the developer, then 1 minute in the stop bath, and then about 4 minutes with the fixer, then a 1 minute first rinse, and then about 2.5 minutes with the wash aid, and then a final rinse of 5 minutes, and then 1 minute in the Ilfotol, the drying agent. So altogether, that's 14, 15, 19, 20, 22 and a half. So it's almost 30 minutes from the time I pour the developer in to when we have a finished developed roll. And it's always my favorite part because it kind of feels a little bit like Christmas, because, once you pour the chemicals in, it's like, okay, you're committed at this point. You cannot stop. So this is a thing that requires time and patience. Actually, you have to cut your lunch break a little early so you'll miss the agitation, but I'll watch the VOD. Lovely. Not a problem, silent speaker. It'll be on as always. All the videos are on my Twitch channel for 2 weeks, but it'll be up on my YouTube channel by the end of the weekend, so you could watch it whenever you like. That's convenient, bot. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's the link to my YouTube channel. Every single stream I do, whether it's an art stream or a video game stream, winds up there, usually about 2-3 days after the live stream. So have a great rest of your day, silent speaker. Hopefully I will catch you. I know you're on the schedule as well, so hopefully I will be around for that. But you enjoy the rest of your day and have fun with the animals. All right, let's sit you up here. And about 5 minutes from now, so let's do this. Since I am starting off the raid train. I'm nothing if I'm nothing if not silly. So the only thing I don't have is the whistle. Okay. So if the alerts are working, when at 1 o'clock, 5 minutes from now, if the alerts are working, there's going to be a loud noise. It's going to be the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 supersonic sound effect. So that can get a little loud. So just giving you fair warning. Okay, that's good. Just making sure some last checks here. Chemicals are good. Chemicals are perfect temperature. Everything's down there. You get to see the different parts of the developing tank here. Hopefully you are all having a wonderful start to your weekend. Hopefully you will be settling in for a day's worth of art. So just a reminder of the schedule. So at 2 o'clock, after me is Paytona 432, and then we are followed by, apologies if I butcher the names here, Adoratan, and then we have Scrub Fiend, followed by Creative Jenny, then Marine Biomakes, then Keeman Monet Arts, followed by Silent Speaker 01, and then the caboose is Brock's Basher. That is the schedule for today. So I know I'll be popping into the other channels from time to time while they go on. And okay. As we get ready, developer is good to go. Fixer's good to go. Stop bath is good to go. So yes, the players are ready. I'm going to be developing 2 rolls of film today. One you will see on stream. The other I'm going to develop off stream while catching some more of the afternoon's raiding. So that is the plan. As you are watching me live from my kitchen. That's alright, it was the case in my last place, too. Alright. 2 minutes to go. I suppose, before we start, I will give you a photography fact. According to my list of photography facts, see. So I don't know if this is, I don't know the source of this, but according to this list of interesting and photography facts, I mean, it makes sense. Apparently, we take more photos every 2 minutes than all of humanity did in the 18th century. And the little info blurb that follows this, it says, by the time you were throwing your The World's About to End party on New Year's Eve of '99, the world had taken 80 billion images. Now we share almost 10 times that amount of images each year on Facebook alone. While nobody loves photography facts enough to actually sit down and estimate the total amount of photographs we take each year, here we go! There we go. Whoa, 21! 21 people hopping on the Artists Together raid train. Welcome! Welcome on in, everyone. I am E. Roivis, also known professionally as Brian J. French, and welcome to the start of this Artists Together raid train. Welcome, Vanilla. Welcome, Goosetown. Low-Base Guy, Creative Jenny. How am I? I'm doing great. I am just about ready to have fun and have for... thanks for participating. Oh, you're very welcome. I love doing these. I'm doing very well, sir. How about you? We're getting ready to start my film developing. All the chemicals are ready. And, yeah. So if you have seen this before, welcome back. Welcome back. If you are the first time checking out the Artists Together raid train, welcome. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the day's festivities. Today we're going to start off. Hello, Keeman. We're going to start off with some photography today. Well, we're going to start with developing some black and white film. Specifically, we're going to develop some medium format black and white film. Ilford Delta 400 speed film to be exact. Scrub Fiend, yes, happy raid train day. Beautiful. I'm going to be developing 2 rolls of film today. The first you're about to see. The second I'm going to be developing off stream while catching the rest of you lovely people throughout the day. So, how does one develop film? Well, first I should provide you a visual aid as to what I'm actually developing today, because you see that roll of film and you're just like, all right, cool. What does it actually look like? Well, I'm going to show you. Delta 400 is my favorite film stock, but I've only ever done 35mm. Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Developing 35mm and medium format is exactly the same. Hey, you are wearing a conduct. Yes, I am. You have noticed. 35mm and medium format, black and white, exactly the same. So if you've developed Delta 400 35mm, same exact process. It's just you use more chemical because the film is bigger. And what I mean by that, I don't know the ages of my viewing audience, but some of you may be young enough to the point where you have never seen 35mm film before, in which case I'm going to start feeling my mortality. But 35mm film looks like this. You were born yesterday. Okay, splendid. Okay, good. Well, welcome to the world, sir. But, that's 35mm. Medium format, when it's developed, looks like this. So I'll just do a compare here. Basically, this is almost double the width of 35mm. Hello, King of Calcium. Impeccable big, Thank you so much. But yes, so 35mm is here, medium format is here, and this is what we're going to be developing today. Again, the process is exactly the same. It just requires more chemical. So like my 35 millimeter developing tank uses, you were born 1,000 years ago. Ah, so Keeman is a Time Lord. We have a Time Lord here. So. And so the first step in getting this going here is to get the film into what's called a developing tank. This is how we are able to develop film without a darkroom. So, a developing tank... How come 35 millimeter is called... Do you have a proper term? We passed an experience with photography in high school. You're jealous to know that I found an original Kodak Brownie camera while cleaning that. I have a Brownie camera in my studio. I've never used it. I got to clean it up. So I'm using a developing tank, but in order to get the film in the developing tank, which is the light, the dangerous part, I use a film changing bag, which is a double-lined black bag that has a zipper on one end and sleeves on the other. So let me take this off because wearing gloves actually is a detriment for me. So the developing tank looks like this. This holds 20 ounces. And the film gets loaded onto one of these little plastic spools. Now, this is an adjustable one. If I shrink it all the way down, it's set for 35 millimeter. When I set it out like this, it's set for medium format. This gets loaded onto a plastic column, which goes in here like this. Then we have the funnel, which goes over on top of that, which is where I pour my chemicals into. It locks into place, and then you put a lid on top of all of that, and you're ready to go. So we're going to disassemble all this and get ready to load up our stuff. This is always the most dangerous part, because you have to do this entirely by touch. You cannot see what you're doing. This requires some groping around in the dark. Not that type of groping around in the dark. Get your minds out of the gutter. That is for off-stream. So yes. 5 rolls of film to develop total, but I only have an hour, so I'm not allowed to grope around in the dark anymore. Court order. All right, so I am just going to move some stuff back and lower the webcam so you could actually see what the hell's going on here. All right. So, sleeve 1. Sleeve 2. All right. Let's get myself all situated here. Where is the spool? There's the spool. There's the column. There's the film. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to take the film, I'm going to unseal the tape here. There we are. Now there's a roll, now the medium format film has a paper backing to it that we need to navigate around until I find the beginning of the roll of film. There we are. All right, there's the spool. putting the film onto the reel, and away we go. When I get toward the end of the film, there is a piece of Scotch tape that is holding the film to the center of the roll, the plastic center. And when I get near the end of it, there it is. I just tore the paper backing off. And now I gotta get the Scotch tape off the film itself, because we don't want that in the developing tank. And the tape is now off. We'll wind the film the rest of the way. And there we are. The film is completely wound. Where is my center column? There it is. Ram it through. Find the bottom of the column. There's the tank. There's the funnel. Lock it in place. Put the lid on. Lid's on. And we're good. Et voila. And what we have here is the paper backing that the film was attached to. This is the center of the roll. And this is the Scotch tape that was holding the paper backing to the center here. So there we are. And now we are ready to go. Yes, hydrate everybody. So, yes. All right. Film's in here. So, next, now we're just about ready to start. So, I use 5 chemicals when I develop a roll of film. 3 of them are required, the other 2 are optional and just make my life easier. So, step 1 is the developer. Now, I specifically use Ilford chemistry throughout the entire process. That's just what has worked best for me. It's you don't have to use Ilford chemistry with Ilford film. You could use Kodak D76. You could use Ilford has DD3. There's a whole bunch of black and white developers out there. I just use all Ilford stuff just to keep things consistent. That's all. So what do we develop with? Developing is temperature sensitive. The ideal film developing temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. For the rest of the world, that's 20 degrees Celsius. And you can develop black and white film at other temperatures. If your developer is warmer than 68, then it'll take less time. If it's colder than 68, it will take more time to develop. There are conversion charts that are available directly from Ilford. And you can develop your film preparing the chemicals in one of 3 ways. For developer, you could just use straight developer right out of the bottle. I don't usually like doing that because that is the quickest, and you run into the greatest risk of uneven developing. Then we get the second method, which is my preferred method, which is 1-to-1. So 1 part developer to 1 part water. So I have ready to go here. I have 10 ounces of stock developer to 10 ounces of distilled water. And then the other method, if you have a lot of time on your hands, it's 1 to 3. So 1 part stock developer to 3 parts water. So at 68 degrees, the developer will take 14 minutes, and I have my digital thermometers here. So it says 68.7. So just a little under 14 minutes. It's probably closer to like 13:30. But because this developer is 2 months old, I am going to go the full 14 minutes, just to be a little bit on the safe side. But if it was absolutely fresh developer, then I'd probably be leaning toward like 13:30, 13:15. But I'm going to go the full 14. Hey, Maple Glades, welcome. After the developer is done, after 14 minutes have elapsed, the next chemical is stop bath. And this is very quick. You'd only pop in here for a minimum of 15 seconds. I usually just put it in for a minute. Just a minute doesn't hurt it. I'm doing well, Maple Glades. And the third required chemical is fixer. So what fixer does, going back a couple of steps, on a roll of film is a thin layer of emulsion that is a silver compound. It's silver halide. And it's light sensitive, and it reacts to light. So every time you open the shutter, the light strikes the film, it'll react, and then when you hit it with developer, that's when you draw the image out. What fixer does is it removes all the remaining undeveloped silver that's still on the roll, which in doing so makes the film safe to come out into the light. It fixes the exposure in place, hence why it's called fixer. The other 2 chemicals that I use after the fixer, we'll get to those as time develops. And in about a minute, I'm going to start running my sink to get that to 68 degrees so I can use that as rinse water. So if you haven't gone to the bathroom, you might want to do that. But yeah, with that said, I've got 45 minutes to go. Could it make me safe? I mean, fixer smells like vinegar, so I mean, if you want to, pour fixer on yourself and come out into the light, as long as you don't mind smelling like vinegar, knock yourself out. All right, so away we go. Chemicals are temperature's good. My timer, my timer is gonna show up on your screen there, so you can all follow along with me. So away we go. Haha. That was almost the wrong chemical, and that's why my graduates are labeled. That's fixer. I should have smelled it first. Yeah, developer has no smell. If your developer smells, it's gone bad. There we go. All right. Away we go. All right. Div timer, and away we go. And what we do is we agitate for the first 30 seconds. So we can cover the film in developer. Do I ever experiment with expired chemistry? No, I typically don't. For 2 reasons. One, I'm not brave enough to do that. And secondly, I can't stand the smell. That depends on the type of developing King of Calcium. So if you are not using an agitating rod, what you typically do is you agitate for the first 30 seconds, and then you agitate for 10 seconds at the top of every minute. However, if you want to constantly agitate your developer, that's not a problem either. Like, there are multiple ways to develop it. So I'm manually agitating by hand. Developing tanks also typically come with a long thin rod that goes in the center, and then you twirl it around if you want to do that. Yep, that works too. So after this next agitation, I'm going to start running the water here. And the reason why we agitate is because you want to make sure that there's constantly fresh developer washing over the film. You want to make sure that you do that, otherwise you run the risk of uneven developing. If necessity is the mother of invention, as they say, that I think laziness is... Oh, that's brilliant. I like that. I think I'm going to steal that. All right. Also, calcium. This method was the method that I was taught by my college professor when I took Photo 1 as a freshman in college. So, but yes, there are multiple ways to develop a roll of film. So, what's my temperature on my rinse water? 80 degrees. We need to come down a bit. I have my qualifications in engineering to be a lazy son of a bitch more efficiently, pretty much. I mean, isn't that what all engineering is to make things as efficient and as lazy as possible? All right. So, fun story about how I got interested in photography. So, I always wanted to be a writer, a fiction writer, when I was in grade school. And so every semester you would sign up for an elective. And I kept trying to get into the creative writing class in my high school. And the way you registered for classes was you went by alphabetical last name. So my original last name, my original birth last name, started with a W. And so by the time they got to me, like, the creative writing class had already completely filled up. And this happened for my junior and senior year. And so I never, ever, ever, ever got into this class. So senior year, I was talking with my guidance counselor, and I was facing the possibility of basically having 1/3 of my school day be study halls, because the creative writing class was already filled, and like a couple of other of my backup choices were also filled. You know, again, the joy of having last name beginning with a W. And so my guidance counselor was like, okay, we can't have, 1/3 of your day or half of your day be study halls. So, what about like drawing? I'm like, no, I suck at drawing. I still do. It was my worst class in my fine arts education in college. about drawing, painting, and like, how about photography? And I'm like, oh, all right, fine. How hard can it be to use a camera? Fine. Sure. I'll take it. That was the most wonderful whatever I had probably ever decided on. Once I learned how to because I learned how to shoot on 35 millimeter, because this was 2003 and digital had not really taken off yet. So I wound up basically living in that darkroom that my high school had. Any chance I got. I loved it. I just shot roll after roll of Kodak Tri-X and just went to town. And then, I started college, and I was very pissed that, because it's the state of New York, you have to take, you cannot declare a major in your first 2 years of college, so you have to take all these general education classes. So all the shit I just graduated from, all the Regents exams and all that nonsense that I just took, I'd have to redo in college. And pay 10 grand a year for the privilege. I couldn't just dive into writing, because I still wanted to do that. But, I had to leave college because I couldn't afford it. And, exactly, calcium. Exactly. And then the photo bug got rekindled after I had dropped out of college temporarily. When my first job when I started working for Walmart, I wound up working in the photo lab. And my interest for photography was rekindled, and it has stayed there ever since. So I have been doing photography for 2 decades now. And I still shoot film, but I also do a lot of digital. A lot of my studio work is digital. Yes. And, I wound up marrying a writer. My husband is a writer. So, he's a writer. I'm a photographer. You do the math. My rinse water is almost at 68. I can have a couple of degrees difference on the rinse water. That's not a problem. It does. It tracks the whole way down. And then 6 years ago, I legally changed my last name to something a little closer to the alphabet. I took my husband's last name, so that begins with an F. So I get to experience what it's like closer to the front of the alphabet. So the images that I am developing, are mostly dead things. So something I really, really like to photograph are old cemeteries. And you find a lot of those in New England and downstate New York. That's a thing. And the last weekend of April and the first weekend of May, I was on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. And again, coastal Massachusetts has so many old Puritan early American cemeteries. And they're just so fascinating. Like, Puritan headstones, early American headstones, are fucking extra. Oh my god. You'll see some of them in the scroll if you haven't already of images. Rinse water is at 68. We got there. So, yep. So end of April, I went to visit some friends on Cape Cod, and then the first weekend of May, my husband and I went to Martha's Vineyard to celebrate our 20th anniversary together. So, and we love walking around old cemeteries. So, there's some vacation images on these, but it's mostly death. Thank you, Calcium. Interestingly enough, low base. I accidentally stumbled upon in Martha's Vineyard the cemetery where John Belushi is buried, and John Belushi's headstone is in the style of the old Puritan type headstones. Thank you, Scrub Fiend. He wouldn't notice, but definitely the state of Massachusetts would. It's a popular destination. All right, we are coming down to the final minute here of step 1. So what's going to happen is when that timer hits 0, I'm going to dump this out and immediately pour this stop bath in here. So. The forbidden orange juice. All right, I'm gonna open this up. All right, dump you out. Immediately pour the stop bath in here. All right. And we're going to agitate this for about 1 minute. Constant agitation. We want to stop all developing. I usually do this about 15 times. Five more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Let's not trip over my headset here. That would not be fun. Alright. Next is Fixer is the same process as developer. Constant agitation for the first 30 seconds or so, and then 10 seconds after. Thank you all so much for spending some of your Saturday with me. I always enjoy the pleasure of your company. So when I'm not doing art streaming, I do video game streaming. Video game streaming usually on Friday evenings. Currently, I am doing a casual playthrough of Final Fantasy VI in celebration of its 30th anniversary. Hey, thanks for the follow! So, if it's been a while since you guys have seen me, I deliberately withdrew from the Twitch affiliate program because I don't stream very much at the present moment, and I didn't think it was fair to ask people to throw money at me if I don't stream as much as I used to. Also, it is a bitch at tax time because all the money that you make on Twitch is considered self-employment income here in the United States. And so there's extra work that you have to do to report that. And because the tax preparation industry is a bit of a racket, you get charged more to report your self-employment income. And it had gotten to the point where it had cost me more money in additional tax prep costs than the money I actually made on Twitch. So I said, you know what? Enough of that. So, if any of you out there, feel the urge to show some appreciation in the form of dollars, you can do that in a couple of ways. The first is my Patreon. I do have a Patreon, and for those who subscribe at the $5 per month level or higher, I mail you a physical photographic print every month, one of my choosing. It could be a headstone image, it could be an architectural image, it could be a nature image, it could be a nude. Whatever I choose, you get that mailed to you. The other way is through my Redbubble shop, which you can find the link actually at my card page. And then finally, you could just PayPal me directly. The link to my PayPal is right in the lower right there, paypal.me/eroivis. So, never, ever required, but always, always appreciated. So. And of course, on my card page, you can also find the links to all my socials. So, Instagram, Vero, website, all that fun stuff. All right, Fixer is done. So now we're going to go to first rinse. So, a little note about Fixer. It is the only one of the chemicals in this process that can be reused. So, Film Fixer would then, if I had an actual working photographic darkroom, you would then use this Film Fixer to use for making prints. And if I developed a bunch of film, like industrial quality, industrial lab worth of film, then what I would be doing with this fixer is I'd be saving it. I'd be putting it into what's called a silver reclaiming unit, which would draw the silver out of suspension, and then you'd sell it back to Kodak or whatever, and they'd recycle it and reuse the silver for future film. All right, so the first rinse, we are at 68 degrees. First rinse is for 1 minute. And then we go to my two optional chemicals that I told you about a little while ago. The first one is called Wash Aid. And what Wash Aid does is it helps to remove any remaining silver that the fixer got but wasn't able to clear away. What Wash Aid basically does is it cuts down on my rinse time. So if I didn't have this Wash Aid, this would be the last step in the process. I would be then running that film under that water for about 15 minutes. This cuts down on my rinse time down from 15, 20 minutes to 5. And again, not required, but, makes my life easier. And, when I was in college and, I had a class schedule and, now here I am in a place where I actually have to pay for water. Although I'm kind of lucky in that regard is that, yes, I pay for water, but where I live, it's a flat fee no matter how much I use. So, but if you were living in a place where you had to pay for the amount that you actually use, this helps a little bit. All right. Let's gut you. We go to Wash Aid. And this is going to be for about 2.5 minutes. And we actually do have to constantly agitate the entire time. So, if you are get a bit of your arm workout in here. All right. Wash Aid timer, away we go. So, let me just do this. Thankful all your bills are fixed through the agreement with the government. Ah, yes, the good old government. The good old government. So they make developing tanks in which you can develop multiple rolls of film at the same time. That is a level of courage I'm not willing to act on, because I've developed hundreds of rolls of film, and I've ruined maybe less than 10 in my life. But there is still that part of me that goes, the day I buy a developing tank in which I can develop, 4 rolls of film at once, will be the day that something goes wrong and I lose all that film. Yeah, scrub feed. In my neck of New York, we pay a flat fee, so it's twice a year. The town sends us a bill. I'm like, okay, here you go. I'm coping and seating. You getting flat? making Victoria nice by hand with his motion. Oh, yeah. All right, we are just about done with the wash aid here. The directions on the wash aid say 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. So it's like, you're a little flexible here. Really, the only really strict point of the entire process is the developer. Like, because you can very easily underdevelop or overdevelop. All right, let's take out the wash shade timer, new, and we get to final rinse. Final rinse, 5 minutes. And yeah, there looks like soap. So it is now safe to take this out and just let this go. All right. Out of water in one mug, so now we go to another mug. When I was on Martha's Vineyard, I absolutely had to. So this mug has all sorts of old headstone markings on it. Yeah, I would imagine that'd be a job hazard there. Calcium. Fortunately, I don't paint. And we wrap up. We got 5 minutes, so just to remember, everyone, the next person on the Raid Train schedule is Paytona 432, who is new to me in Artists Together, so we are all going to find out together what Paytona 432 is up to. And that's in about 12 minutes or so from now. This paint water tastes like ultramarine. It's got just the right amount of lead in it. Yes, good. The flavor profile of this heavy metal is just... Mwah. It's not old radon paint. Yeah, fair point. So, you're going to, in about, I have to see what my week's going to look like, but it's either going to be Tuesday night or Wednesday night where I'm going to be streaming, working on editing this film that it just developed. I'm going to be scanning it tomorrow after the film dries. And yeah, then Tuesday or Wednesday, you'll get to see what we got. All right. Halfway through, we'll dump this out and recycle. It'll bimboify your insides. And then we get to the last chemical. And because I am occasionally a moron, so this last chemical is ilfotol. And so, to make it so that I know it's the last one, I have labeled on it, last step. So ilfotol it's a moonshine. The last step is I use a chemical called ilfotol, and it's basically, I call it jet dry for film. So the principle is, so if you use jet dry in a dishwasher, what jet dry does is that it prevents water spots from forming on your dishes. It's the same concept, ilfotol, but with film. Because if you live in an area that gets hard water, you're going to wind up with water spots on your film, which is a bitch to edit out. Not as hard as trying to edit out a fingerprint, which reminds me, because we're about to actually handle the film, so we gotta get the white gloves on. So that's what ilfotol does. You pour it into the tank, you let it sit for about a minute, and then it'll dry, and it will greatly reduce or eliminate entirely the formation of water spots. So, and I know I have hard water in this house, so this is a big help. All right, yes. So now I'm going to pour moonshine on my film and make a nice, dirty cocktail with it. Actually, Gob-chan, I think. Thank you for the follow. All right. So, the final thing we do Bloop. Pour this right in here. There is no agitation or anything like that involved. It just sits there. You just pour enough, just enough to cover the film with. Yes, having a great art day. We are finishing up film developing. Just enough time just to pull this out, and then I'm going to have to race upstairs to where I have a shower rod hanging over the shower with a hanger and some hooks so that I can hang the film off of so that it can dry. So that'll be a quick race. I don't need you for the time being. I'll come back when I develop the next roll. All right. Now we have reached the end, ladies and jelly spoons. Now comes the fun part. And as I always say at the end of this process, I always quote the late, great Raul Julia from the movie The Addams Family. Spirits above me, give me a sign. Shall I be joyous or shall I be damned? And it would appear that I am joyous. Ooh, that looks good. All right, so on this particular roll, we've got Dead Things and Beach Shots. So this is one of my vacation rolls. Lovely. All right, I gotta quickly hang this up, so I'll be back in a minute. All right. So there we are. That's the film developing. That is how I develop black and white film without a darkroom. The film changing bag, the developing tank, and yeah. So Tuesday or Wednesday, I usually will post my stream schedule either in the Twitch schedule. I will also share it. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky, which also is in. If you go to my card page, you will find the link for that. And again, if you like what you see and you want to show some love, there's the link to my card page. It's all the links, all my socials, my website, all the good stuff. I sometimes stream over on Picardo. That is the rare times that I do not safe for work photography. So if I do like a nude photo shoot, I can't edit it on Twitch. I can't work on those images on Twitch because Twitch is afraid of nipples. So that is a place I sometimes go to. All right. Oh, okay. I wonder if it changed. So in this last second here, before we raid Paytona, thank you for letting me know, Scrub Fiend. I will then have to fix that. All right. So, again, thank you so much for spending your Saturday with me. It's been a blast kicking off this Artists Together raid train. We are going to move on to Paytona 432. Let me just make sure I got the link all good. Yep, all right, there we are. Let's get the raid going. All right, my friends, thank you so much. I will see you later in the week. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of the Artists Together raid train. Thank you for spending your time with me. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed watching me develop film. See you next time, my friends. Have a great rest of your day. Joy be with you all.